Exactly 6 years ago today, Hollow Knight Silksong was announced. So what has happened since then, and what do we know about the game? You'll find out right now, because this is the entire history of Silksong so far. But we have to start a bit earlier, because the beginning of Silksong is not in 2019. Technically, the roots of Silksong can be found in the Kickstarter for the original Hollow Knight all the way back in 2014. Because said Kickstarter mentioned making Hornet a playable character if a certain stretch goal, meaning a certain amount of money for that Kickstarter, was to be reached. And reach it they did. Of course, this does not mean that Silksong has been in development for 11 years, because the plan to make the stretch goal into a full sequel can only be created after the first game is out, naturally. So let's skip ahead a bit. Hollow Knight comes out in February 2017, it becomes a huge success over the years, and now we are once again at the 14th of February 2019, the announcement of Hollow Knight Silksong. We got two things on that day. One thing all of you will know, and one that some of you won't know in that much detail. One was the announcement trailer that all of us know by heart by now. It's like the national anthem of the Silksong fandom, an oath we have sworn allegiance to, the soundtrack playing in the background while we perform another ritual sacrifice to bring the release closer. You get it, it was a big deal. It showed us the first look at the gameplay of the game, as well as part of the opening cutscene in which we see Hornet getting carried away to Farloom, the land in which Silksong will take place in. And then she breaks free, of course, and the game starts. There's so much to cover when it comes to the trailer. For example, all the areas and bosses we see, all the gameplay mechanics like the quicker heal or the tools and crests, which is a revamped charm system from Hollow Knight. And of course a hint at songs being something that Hornet can learn and use, whatever that may mean. And I could talk about all of this for hours, but I'm not gonna do it right now because A, we have a lot to cover today, and B, I already covered all of this over the years. I talked about all the bosses, I made a map of Farloom, I talked about the different systems, heck, we even found the Silksong, I kid you not. And all of these things are still as accurate and relevant as they were back then, so if you wanna check those videos out, I'll leave a curated playlist of all my best Silksong theories and stuff like that in the comment section. The other thing that happened on February 14th, the thing most people that are more on the fringes of the fandom and are just more casual fans of Hollow Knight did not take too much of a look at, were the blog post and Q&A that also released on the 14th of February 2019. The blog post on our website mentioned a few key details. Firstly, the game would release at least on Windows, Linux, Mac and Switch. We now also know that it will release on launch on Game Pass and PS5 and PS4, just in case you were wondering. Secondly, they mentioned that they had been working on the game for well over a year now, with some pieces starting as early as right after the release of Hollow Knight. So at the very least, Silksong has now been in development for somewhere between 7 and 8 years now. Thirdly, the game will be free for everyone who backed the original Hollow Knight, so that's very nice. And lastly, they mentioned already having over 150 plus enemies for the game, which will at that point already rival Hollow Knight's final roster. One last thing was featured in the blog post, which was a link to a Q&A of sorts of William and Ari, two of the three developers behind Hollow Knight, covering some of the key features of the game in more detail. They covered, for example, the quest system and how Hornet will even have a quest log to keep track of the quests, and how that will lead to them being able to repurpose parts of the map for these quests. They also mentioned Silk Soul mode, which is gonna be a new mode after you beat the game, basically this game's Steel Soul mode, but it will not be permadeath, but something else entirely, but we don't know what exactly. With Valentine's Day now fully covered, it did not take a long time until new news arrived. Only a month later, on the 19th of March, Team Cherry shared some little update about Silksong in their late Hollow Knight anniversary blog post. In this post, they shared some names and short descriptions of some of the NPCs we'll find in Silksong, like Lace and Chakra and some others. And now we enter the E3 2019 era. I actually want to start with Team Cherry's wrap-up of the E3, a blog post in which they talked about some gameplay elements in a bit more detail, but with no real staggering new info. They did give us a name for this area though, calling it Greymore. The E3 itself was crazy though. People got to play a demo of 2 separate areas, a demo that was then brought to other showcases like the Gamescom in the same year. Silksong was also featured in the Nintendo Treehouse. In it, they played the aforementioned demo, going through the starting area called Moss Grotto, and also through the deep docks, which culminated in a fight with the mysterious Lace. Seeing the game in motion like this was quite incredible, like especially the Moss Grotto just looked and sounded fantastic in my opinion, and looking back on it, this was probably more of a vertical slice than people expected, meaning that these 2 areas got polished up for this demo and were not representative of the state of the game itself, which at that point was probably far from being playable. And also another thing happened.
What can we say so far about release plans for this?
So Hollow Knight Silksong is coming soon.
I mean, look, we heard the coming soon in 2019 and went with it. But as it turned out, Nintendo actually didn't know if Silksong would come out soon, but said so anyway. It was the result of some miscommunication between Team Cherry and Nintendo, simple as that. And it led to the fandom believing Silksong was right around the corner for a whole year, since neither Nintendo nor Team Cherry came forth to clarify that Silksong would in fact not be coming soon. And as we move towards the end of 2019, Team Cherry created another blog post in December of that year as a holiday sign-off. While this was not the last time we heard something from Team Cherry directly, it would be the last time they made a blog post. In it, they said that the game was taking a tad longer than expected because they are still adding stuff and also trying to tie up everything else. Again, this was over 5 years ago. They also teased 3 new enemies and showed us 2 tracks for Silksong's OST, Lace and Bone Bottom, the latter of which I will start playing in the background now, because we are entering the sad era of waiting for Silksong, and this is a sad song, so it fits. 2020 was an odd year. What we did get in 2020 was, during the middle of the year, Leth, the marketing manager of Team Cherry, created some riddles that had to be solved by the community, which then led to the reveals of new characters and some additional information. We, for example, had information on Grindel or Seth and these other characters you see on screen now. And that was very fun to do. I did not participate in those because I'm not smart like that. I cannot do riddles like that. But other people did. Other people were smart. But yeah, that was a nice thing. I think the community came together in a nice way, and I appreciated it a lot. Team Cherry did apologize for the lack of blog posts, but apart from that, we basically got no updates right until the end. Renowned gaming magazine Edge Magazine teased some Silksong news, and even though I was ridiculed for believing in the obscure hints, I 100% believed them. And for once, I was 100% right. We got Silksong news in December of 2020. When it comes to the release dates, the Edge magazine did not feature any news, but the interview itself was done with great attention to detail, getting a lot of interesting answers and also providing us with some fresh new artwork for the game. I will leave a link to a Reddit thread below so you can read it on your own, but when this interview came out, we all felt a jolt of reinvigorating energy, like sliders after ripping off a customer like the monopoly capitalist he is. And so we went into 2021. And right in January, something amazing started.
Today is January 16th, 2021. This is Aura, your host for today, bringing you your daily Silksong news.
Aura started the channel Daily Silksong News on January 16th, 2021, and has been going at it for over 4 years now, and is doing it to this very day. Besides the fact that this is very commendable when it comes to sticking to something you started, it is also genuinely a wonderful archive. And for the research of this video, I double checked everything from 2021 onwards with his videos to make sure I don't forget something. So if you somehow have subbed to my channel but not to his, and this applies to maybe like 4 people here, then please also sub to his channel. So yeah, what else did 2021 have in store? So the first news of 2022 came late in January, when a mod on the subreddit said that they heard that Silksong would not be coming soon. Alright then, let's move ahead to February, when the PC Gamer article featured real words uttered by William from Team Cherry. He basically said that they were still working on it, and that was that. We move ahead another month when Makoto Koji, the voice actress for Hornet, said when asked about it, that her voice work was done. And while voice acting is normally done late in the dev process, it is a bit different for Silksong because Makoto needs to make sounds and not say specific words, so as long as a wide range of emotions is captured by these sounds, Team Cherry can then use those however they want in the game. With real scripts and dialogues, voice acting would probably come later because the script would 100% need to be set in stone. So basically Makoto Koji finishing up her work doesn't mean that Silksong was coming soon. And now we move ahead to June, when Xbox shared a new Silksong trailer showing new parts of areas, new gameplay, new bosses, and on Twitter later confirming that Silksong would come within the next year, meaning in the next 365 days. You could even say a huge company stated that Silksong would be coming soon. Do you see where I'm going with this? While the trailer itself was fantastic and we even got some additional new material only a bit later, which was basically a few more seconds of footage, the promise of a release within a year of this announcement did not hold true as we know now. The only thing that we then got was an announcement in September 2022 that Silksong would also come to PS4 and PS5, which was not clear until then. We also got some new screenshots, especially this little guy should be mentioned because it's so cute, and we also got some new named screenshots in late October, mostly also showing not that much new stuff in the screenshots themselves. But now moving on to 2023, we now come to the day that Leth, the marketing manager for Team Cherry, confirmed the Silksong delay in the tweets. They were planning to release it in the first half of 2023, just like Xbox had promised, but he announced at the end of May that they would shoot past that date. At this point, it was clear to most fans that even a late 2023 release date would be unlikely. The rest we got in 2023 was mostly unimportant stuff. A metadata update here, a renewed trademark there, nothing too special. A fan did meet Team Cherry and claimed that Team Cherry said that they were testing the game currently and able to play it front to back, but that should of course be taken with exactly 15 grams of salt or alternatively 0.002 freedom units. The only big thing that happened in 2023 was in December, when the original trailer from at that point almost 5 years ago had its metadata extracted, which led to loreheads like myself being able to obsess over little details like what the different gameplay snippets were called in-house. And that's it for 2023. In 2024, we got more of what we got in 2023, another fan meeting parts of Team Cherry and talking about, and most prominently, Silksong getting an age rating of 18+, for mature audiences due to excessive violence in the game, as well as drug abuse, highly sexual content, political misinformation, and the spreading of what ESRB called spider propaganda, whatever that means. Jokes aside though, the different age ratings range from like 6 to 13 due to mild violence, as was to be expected. And that was it for 2024. Oh, and some insiders and leakers hinting at event appearances every other week, and none of which ever happened. And now we are in the very weird start of 2025, which saw William's burner account make a cryptic tweet on Twitter, formerly still and always known as Twitter, and people took it for Silksong news, which was later deconfirmed by the marketing manager Leth, and the whole situation was wild and a bit too complicated to wrap up in detail in this section, but since nothing has come of it as of now, I will treat it as the nothing burger it likely was for the time being. And now we are here, at the end of it. It was weird to revisit these 6 years in script form, especially since half the script was spent on 2019, and the other half on the 5+ years that have followed since. Whether we get news in a year from now, the game gets cancelled altogether, or we get news exactly 175 minutes after this video releases as a Valentine's Day gift, we don't know. But as of now, you know the entire history of Silksong so far. Thanks to my Patreons, Aido and Aurora, for their continued support. There's an Elden Ring Night Rain video coming next week probably, and then some other stuff beyond that. And yeah, 6 years have passed since the Silksong reveal. Here's to hopefully not 6 more.